All right, so I'm going to show you guys real quick how to wedge some clay. You might have a fresh bag of clay, but most likely you have clay that kind of looks like, you had extra scraps of stuff and you just threw it on top of there so it'd get wet again. So I'll show you how to wedge this back into one solid piece of clay, removing air bubbles and making your clay more consistently plastic. It'll just make it easier for when you are building your project. So when you're cutting your clay, use the wire tool that was included in your kit. It has like 2 little wooden dowels on the end and some wire in the center. And make sure that you pull your bag all the way down before you cut. If you cut your clay with your bag too high up, you're likely to cut through the bag, and then it defeats the purpose of your bag keeping your clay moist. So, because it puts a hole in your bag. So make sure you pull the bag all the way down so you're not cutting a hole into it. So I'm just going to wedge a relatively small piece of clay at a time. It's just easier on my hands and my wrists and everything because it does start to wear on you after a while. So you can see I've got these pieces that I want to wedge. You can see they were coils I just kind of threw back on top. So what you want to do is, find a table that you can work on that's easy to clean up. I do have canvas in your kits as well. Might not work as well for wedging because it's not attached to the table surface, but you might want to put it down anyway and see if you can get it to work because it doesn't stick to the canvas. So try that at home. So what I want to do is when I'm wedging, I'm going to put my thumbs together like this, and I am going to come straight down on it. And I don't know if you can see, but I'm kind of leaning into it. So I've got my knees bent, and I'm pushing with my whole body. Again, putting my thumbs together like this, and wedging my clay. So I'm curling it back up. So I push, and then I pull, push, pull. What will start to happen, and this is called the ram's head wedge. So I'm wedging my clay. Just do this over and over. You do this for a while to get all those air bubbles out, get your clay consistent. So some people say that this ends up looking like a ram's head, kind of like these are the horns, this is the snout or snoot or nose, whatever you want to call it. So that's the ram's head wedge technique. And I would continue doing this for probably another 5-10 minutes. There's another technique that you can try. It's called the conch wedging technique, and it's where you push with one hand and you kind of guide it with the other. So if you can kind of see, I kind of make a square with my hands. And so instead of looking like ram's head, it's going to start going at an angle. So again, I'm bending my knees, I'm leaning into it. I'm not just using my wrists, I'm using my shoulders, upper arms. So I'm going to switch it up here. All right, so you can kind of see, if I continue to do this, it kind of looks like a conch shell. It'll start to spiral. I haven't done it for that long. If I keep doing it, it'll keep spiraling, but it kind of gets like this kind of triangular shape. But that will also work out all of those bubbles. I do the ram's head more often. Every once in a while, I'll switch it up just to give my wrists a little bit of a break. But again, take your time, wedge it for a while. It's a good way to get some stress out if you need it. But that will save you a lot of frustrating air bubbles in your clay. So you can see from my wedging, there's no air bubbles in there. All right, sorry for the interruption. So here's my wedged clay. You can see there's hopefully no air bubbles in there. And I'll know that when I roll out my slab if there are any air bubbles, they'll kind of show up, they'll kind of pop up and show themselves. But hopefully, if you put in the time, be patient, wedge it for a good chunk of time, make sure you get it all wedged in together. Sometimes if you have different colored clays, you can see it kind of swirl together. But yeah, it'll get you some nice consistent clay to work with when you're working on your projects.